The wolf refused to move away from the woman, prompting the doctor to take a closer look and swiftly call the police. Natalie Johnson, a 24-year-old woman residing in a quaint American town, had recently graduated from college and secured a well-paying position in the city. Each day, she endured a commute to her workplace that could take up to an hour. As a recent graduate, Natalie was still mastering the complexities of her new job. Although she loved every aspect of it, the work often left her feeling quite stressed by the end of the day. To unwind, Natalie frequently took walks in the nearby woods. She found that the tranquility of nature and the crisp, fresh air helped her relax and rejuvenate after a long day at work. Despite her deep love for the forest, Natalie always made sure to stay on familiar paths and trails near the wood's entrance. She did this because she was aware of the presence of dangerous animals, such as wolves and bears, that inhabited the area and could seriously harm her if she encountered them. However, one day, something happened that would forever change Natalie's life. The young woman had finally gotten a day off of work, and luckily for her, it was a beautiful day with the sun shining down. Natalie decided that she would go for a walk, as she hadn't been able to for the last couple of days due to arriving home from work late. Once she got ready, the young woman headed out on her trip. She walked along one of her favorite routes, which was a bit further into the tree line but held a lot more beauty. Natalie was enjoying looking at a beautiful, colorful flower when, all of a sudden, she heard a high-pitched howl. The woman froze. The howl sounded close by, and she was afraid that the animal would soon be running through the trees and right towards her. After standing still for a couple of moments, Natalie once again heard the howl. Only this time, it sounded more sorrowful and pained. It was at this point that Natalie decided something that would change her life. She felt worried, as the animal making the noise was clearly in pain, and the young woman wanted to help out. Not knowing what else to do, she began to walk towards the area where she thought the sound was coming from. After a few moments of walking, Natalie came across a sight that broke her heart. In the middle of some trees, a lone wolf lay on the ground, whimpering in pain. At first, Natalie stayed where she was. She didn't want to get too close to the wild canine, as she didn't know what was wrong with it, and she didn't want to be attacked. However, after observing the wolf for a few minutes, Natalie realized that it was stuck somehow. The young woman inched closer in the hopes that she would be able to see just what was keeping the wolf in place. Upon hearing the young woman getting closer, the wolf lifted its head and looked over at her. The animal started growling, causing Natalie to freeze in her steps. But only seconds later, the canine started whimpering again. Now that she was closer, Natalie was able to see what had happened. The wolf had gotten tangled up in some old wire, and it was unable to move. Feeling sorry for the creature, the young woman took a deep breath and once again started creeping closer to the wolf. Once she was a few feet away from the animal, Natalie crouched down and took out the small pocket knife that she always took with her on walks. The young woman then started cutting away the wire. The entire time that Natalie worked on setting the wolf loose, the animal simply watched her and made no sounds nor moves to attack her. Finally, after a tense few minutes, Natalie cut the final wire and the wolf was able to break free. Immediately, the young woman moved back a few steps to allow the canine some space to become comfortable again. Natalie watched as the wolf, who she could see was a female, stretched herself out. But the more she watched, the more Natalie realized that there was something wrong with the wolf. She was limping. It seemed that one of the wires had cut into the creature's leg a little bit. What amazed Natalie the most, however, was the fact that instead of running off into the woods, the wolf turned to look at the young woman. Then, after seemingly assessing her, the wolf limped over to Natalie and started rubbing her head against her. Natalie was amazed at what was happening. The wild canine was thanking her for being friendly. Taking advantage of the situation, Natalie even gave the wolf some pets. The young woman knew, though, that with her injured leg, the wolf wouldn't be able to hunt for herself anytime soon, and that without help, she risked going hungry. Knowing this, Natalie decided that she would continue to help the animal until she was able to look after herself again. Over the course of the next few weeks, Natalie ventured into the woods every day to take the wolf some food. She would always meet her at the clearing where they had first met and made sure to give the wolf a good helping of meat. Quickly, the two began to form a strong bond, and before long, both the wolf and Natalie were looking forward to their daily meetings. One day, though, something strange happened. Natalie didn't turn up at the meeting spot. The wolf was confused and a little concerned, as her friend had never once missed their meetings. But not knowing what else to do, she simply decided to try meeting her again the next day. However, the next day came and went, and once again, Natalie didn't show up to the clearing. Completely worried now, the wolf made up her mind to go in search of her friend. The canine ventured out of the woods and followed Natalie's scent. She soon found herself at a graveyard, where a group of people were gathered around a coffin. The wolf quickly approached the coffin. Mason, Natalie's husband, stood next to the coffin with tears in his eyes. It seemed that Natalie had passed away. It had been incredibly sudden, and no one had expected it to happen, and he was devastated. He had truly loved her, so to lose her like that had been incredibly shocking. Just as he was about to start burying her, though, the wolf ran up to the coffin and began to growl. The group of people backed away in shock and fear, but upon closer inspection, Mason realized that the animal was the very wolf that his wife was always talking about. He was amazed that she had traveled all that way just to find Natalie. Mason watched as the she-wolf sniffed at the coffin. It seemed that she knew who was in the wooden box, and the canine was getting more and more anxious to get her out. The animal was so wound up that she even began to bite and scratch at the coffin in an effort to get it open. At first, a few of the funeral attendees tried to stop her, but after a few growls, they quickly stopped and backed away once more. Finally, after a particularly strong scratch, the coffin lid opened, but what happened next shocked everyone. From the small opening that the wolf had made in the coffin, a hand came out and pushed the rest of the lid away. Seconds later, Natalie burst from the coffin, gasping for breath. Everyone gasped in shock. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. It must be a miracle. Mason quickly rushed over to Natalie and helped her out of the coffin before calling the police and a doctor. As the young woman sat on the ground, though, the wolf trotted over to her and immediately began to lick her face and give her cuddles. Grateful to the wolf for saving her life, Natalie expressed her heartfelt thanks. When the police and doctor arrived at the scene, they promptly conducted a health examination. Although everyone initially believed she had died, the doctor discovered that Natalie was suffering from a medical condition called catalepsy. Natalie entered a trance-like seizure, losing all sensation and consciousness as her body became rigid, making her appear lifeless. Fortunately, the wolf sensed that she was still alive and managed to rescue her from the coffin just in time. After the frightening incident, Natalie and Mason returned to their everyday lives, grateful for a second chance. However, their family had gained a new member. The she-wolf was frequently seen around their home, joyfully greeting Natalie and sharing meals in the garden. What an incredible story! If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. See you in the next video.